Welcome to the Mobile Feeding Model for the Summer Food Service Program training presented by the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs. Mobile meal programs can be a great way to serve kids in underserved communities, taking the meals to them instead of the other way around. In rural areas where children may live in isolated locations, access to meal service sites operated by schools, parks and rec departments, and private nonprofit organizations is often limited. In urban areas, violence and traffic safety concerns are examples of issues that may limit viable options for site locations. In these cases, mobile feeding may provide the flexibility sponsors need to reach children who do not have access to more traditional sites. So what is mobile feeding in the Summer Food Service Program? USDA defines SFSP mobile feeding as transporting meals to children rather than requiring children to travel to a meal service site. In mobile meals, the sponsor delivers meals to an area using a route with a series of stops at approved sites in the community. A site is defined as a physical location at which a sponsor provides food services for children and at which children consume meals in a supervised setting. The meal service must take place on approved days and the sponsor must serve reimbursable meals during approved service times. The mobile feeding model may be used in any community, rural, urban, and even suburban areas. Each stop on a mobile feeding route is considered a site and has to be area eligible, just like any other summer meal site. Children must remain at the site while they eat their meals. A successful mobile feeding model requires community collaboration, advanced planning, and creativity to effectively design routes, prepare menus, and schedule meal service times. Potential sites for sponsors to consider when establishing a SFSP mobile feeding program include apartment complexes, mobile home parks, libraries, schools closed for the summer, housing authorities, city or community pools, community centers, locations with tutoring or literacy programs, city bus stop areas, migrant sites, community centers, parks and water parks, WIC offices, and churches or other faith communities. What can mobile feeding look like? Pictured here are some examples of decommissioned or otherwise retrofitted school buses now repurposed to bring summer meals to kids. Many sponsors retrofit decommissioned school buses with tables and benches inside so children can eat inside the mobile unit. Some of these vehicles have sound systems and Wi-Fi available to increase the children's eating experience. Other sponsors nationwide serve mobile sites by renting refrigerated trucks. They hire a driver and send an employee or a student on the truck routes to deliver the meals and complete the required paperwork. Many of the sites that received meals from the rented trucks were libraries that already had program staff to help monitor the children and provide activities. Sponsors may also use a food service van or truck that they already own. Sponsors operating mobile feeding are subject to the following requirements. Each location or stop where a bus or other vehicle stops to serve meals must be an approved site and meet site eligibility criteria. The meal service must be on approved days and meal times must be established and approved. Mobile feeding sites must meet other SFSP requirements set forth in program regulations, such as the meal service must be supervised and meals must be consumed at the site. Sponsors of mobile sites must take extra precautions to ensure that food is safe for children to eat. State and local health and safety standards must be met at all times. At a minimum, food must be maintained at proper temperatures along the entire delivery route, and temperatures must be monitored with a food thermometer. A site supervisor must be present at each meal service. Mobile sites may operate as a full service route, where the site supervisor travels with the vehicle along the route and supervises the site at each stop, or where meals are delivered to each stop with an on-site supervisor waiting to receive the meals. Site supervisors must remain on-site during the entire approved meal service time, regardless of site attendance. Allowable use of program funds may include costs related to the processing, distributing, transporting, storing, and handling of any food purchased for or donated to the program. Expenses associated with vehicles used as part of a Summer Food Service Program operation is an allowable cost, but must be supported by adequate documentation and must be properly allocated. The cost of retrofitting a vehicle to allow more efficient transportation of meals is allowable. However, the purchase of a vehicle is not allowable use of program funds. Sponsors must make arrangements or contingency plans for inclement weather disruptions such as rain, thunderstorms, or extreme heat. If meals are served outdoors, adequate arrangements must be made for food service continuation. This could include an alternate indoor site, a shady spot for hot days, or, if necessary, discontinuation of the meal service. Sponsors on mobile sites should make a reasonable effort to inform children of contingency plans to deal with extreme weather conditions, particularly if meal service would be canceled. Building partnerships and seeking out additional funding sources can increase the ability of sponsors to successfully use mobile feeding. In Oregon, ODE CMP has startup expansion grant funds available to summer food service program sponsors. These grant funds are available up to a maximum of $20,000 per organization per state biennium. Grant applications will be considered for costs that support the startup or expansion of summer meal sites, which would include mobile meal sites. Examples of allowable costs include, but are not limited to, food service equipment purchases, modifications needed to pass sanitation inspections and or sanitation inspection fees, staffing costs for outreach and increasing participation, enrichment and education activities and awareness events, and transportation costs for summer meals, including retrofitting an existing bus, truck, or van for a mobile feeding route. Also, Partners for a Hunger-Free Oregon offers annual Summer Food Service Program expansion grants through the Summer Meal Support Fund. The grant program provides startup and expansion grants to communities throughout Oregon, partnering with over 134 unique organizations. Awards up to $5,000 are available to new or growing summer meal sites and sponsors to support community-based programs in connecting more kids to summer nutrition and enrichment while school is out. Funding opportunities may also be available to support mobile feeding efforts through programs administered by the USDA rural development agencies and the Housing and Urban Development state programs that support housing and economic development and foundations and other private sources. It is important to note that these additional sources of income that support the meal programs must be tracked and reported separately from child nutrition program funds. Sponsors considering the mobile feeding model may find the FNS Capacity Builder map to be helpful in identifying potential site locations. The Capacity Builder map allows users to visualize layers of information, such as underserved areas, and identify locations for new sites. Users can find their nearest potential community partners, such as multifamily housing, units, libraries, faith-based institutions, military bases, schools, and more. The Capacity Builder is a powerful tool for sponsors to evaluate the previous summer's performance as well as plan for the next summer, including help identifying potential mobile feeding sites. The link to the Capacity Builder map is located on the slide. Now let's review. Mobile feeding is a great option to consider for increasing SFSP participation, especially in unserved or underserved areas. USDA defines SFSP mobile feeding as transporting meals to children rather than requiring children to travel to a meal service site. In the mobile feeding model, the sponsor delivers meals to an area using a route with a series of stops at approved sites in the community. Stops can be a variety of non-traditional sites, such as apartment complexes, libraries, housing authorities, community centers, and faith-based centers. The FNS Capacity Builder website is a mapping tool to assist sponsors in identifying potential site locations. Many different types of vehicles may be used in implementing the mobile feeding model, such as retrofitted school buses, vans, or trucks. Sponsors operating the mobile feeding model are subject to all the requirements of SFSP. Two examples of these requirements is 1, a site supervisor must be present at each meal service, and 2, all food must be consumed on-site under supervision of the sponsor. Program funds can be used for costs of retrofitting vehicles to allow more efficient transportation of meals. Sponsors are required to make inclement weather arrangements to avoid interruption of food service. And funding opportunities are available, such as ODE CMP startup and expansion grants. Thank you for participating in the mobile feeding model for the Summer Food Service Program training presented by the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs. If you have any questions, please contact your assigned child nutrition specialist. We greatly appreciate the work that you do to fuel Oregon's future.